Alright everyone, so it's late at night and I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on old Blue here. I did not make any videos while I was building her. I kind of wish that I had, but so be it. It's built now, at least mostly. I'll give you a little walk around on it in a minute, but it's an 85 GMC Jimmy that I put the body after I got all the body work done years ago and put it on a 99 Suburban frame that I cut about 2 feet out of and lined everything up and got her put back together and had it running for about 2 months now and everything's working pretty good, but I've got these really crappy tires on it. I've got a lot of play in the steering that I need to get rid of because I didn't really get a chance to drive the Suburban that it came from much before I started chopping it apart. So yeah, I did a little bit of diagnosing earlier and I've got some play in the pitman arm where it meets up to the steering gear or steering shaft, and got some play in the steering gear. So another night I'll tackle that and we'll see if we can adjust that steering gear up. Never done that before, so that'll be fun. But right now I'm going to get these tires off of here and get some new ones mounted up to it down at the tire shop, and we'll get them back on. And that's step one in getting it to where it's a little bit more fun to drive. So I'll give you a quick walk around on her, and yeah, we'll go from there. So yeah, here she is. Again, 85 GMC Jimmy on a shortened 99 Suburban frame. Took a lot of work and a lot of fabrication. A little dirty right now, but I actually did the whole thing right here in this little 2-car garage, where this nice, you know, pole in the middle made things a little bit difficult, but that's alright. Can't really get in that door now, but it's a little tight in here. Still got to get the rear bumper mounted up and put on. And yeah, there's the other side. Looks a lot like the first side. Still needs quite a bit of work done on the inside. As you can see, no dash, but new seat covers. There's the tires in the back that you can't really see that are going to go on it. But as I do the inside, I'll video some of that stuff. Because there's quite a bit of work. I gotta put a dash on and put a headliner in and put in some fancy electronics for the new rig. But yeah, these are the tires I gotta get rid of. They are really good master crafts. Well, they got some tread left on them. I only got one that's studded, so that's cool. I don't know if you can really, probably can't really tell, but there are some deep cracks running right through the middle of all these lines of tread on them. I don't know how old they are, but they're pretty old, and I'm usually pretty good about running tires until there's nothing left. These are just getting too skinny to feel safe, so put some new ones on, and I'll probably also get rid of some of the just horrendous road noise that comes out of it, along with some really nasty vibration when you get up to about 80 miles an hour. So all we're going to do tonight is jack it up, pull the tires off, and put the new ones on. I don't know how familiar any of you are with tires. I don't know if you can really even see that, but there are cracks all over running through these lines of tread, And that's that in general is not a good thing. And I've got one studded tire, the rest of them aren't. They sound like you're dragging something big and heavy down the road underneath of you while you're driving. They just vibrate the hell out of you. So, getting rid of those and going right over to these. Got me some Coopers. I don't know if they're going to be any good or not. Got Coopers before, but the reason I got these ones is I could get them through Walmart for pretty darn cheap. And yeah, that's pretty much the only reason. I buy tires so infrequently, I don't really pay enough attention to what are good or are bad tires. And there was definitely a time where I would just get the cheapest thing in the right size, throw it on there and see how well it lasted. But you know, this is my fancy rig. So I'm going to put on some tires that appear to be good, and I recognize the Cooper name, and I looked at all the little numbers that they've got in here telling you about them, and I think these will work pretty good. So now I just got to manage to get them into my other rig, which could be fun because it's not very big. Because that's what I get to try to haul them into the Walmart to get them put on. That's a 98 Oldsmobile Bravada. I mean, if that doesn't say classy, I don't know what does. I actually think I have this thing traded off to a guy for a quad, but that's not for a couple weeks, so I've got another trip or two out of this beauty. We'll see how well I can stack 8 tires in the back of this thing. Might be a ringing endorsement for them. Might bring them back. Alright, so if you ever hear anyone say that an Oldsmobile Bravada is not a usable vehicle, let me get some more light in here. It is ridiculous. You just call them a dirty liar. I got 4 tires there, shoved clear into the back here. So, you know, that works, but that ain't all. We got there's one, and the other 4 stacked right up in there. Yeah, so we'll go around the other side. Oop. I don't know what I just did. Something. So there's the other 4. So yeah, easy peasy. '98 Oldsmobile Bravada. Do just about anything. Alright, well, that's it for tonight. Just from the couple minutes I was outside, I can't feel my ears anymore because it is a bit chilly out there. So, I'm going to call it a night, finish my beer, crawl in bed. Tomorrow, I'll get those tires put on and we'll put them back in here, and then I've got to adjust the steering gear on this thing, get some of that slop out of it. Never done that before, so it could be interesting, but I'm sure it'll go just fine. Put a new pitman arm on. If you don't know what that is, you'll find out. It's pretty easy. And then test driver. Hopefully the steering smooths out. Because right now, you kind of got to chase it around the road doing that number. It swims like a fish upstream. So, yeah. We'll continue tomorrow. So you can just kind of barely make out the adjuster and the jam nut on the top of that steering gear from up here. I'm looking at it from the top under the hood. It would be a lot easier to access from the top were this vehicle stock, but this is pretty much a custom setup here, so I don't think I'll be able to access it from up here very easily. I may have to go in from the bottom. So when you climb in under here, this is your steering gear. This up here, shaft that runs up to where your steering wheel comes through the firewall there. You got worm gear in here. And then this is the pitman arm that we're going to replace. It runs out to your tie rod. It's the rod that ties the two wheels together, hence tie rod. And that moving back and forth is what steers you left and right. So we're going to adjust this thing because we've got some slop between the steering and the pitman in this gear right here. So we're going to start out with making our adjustments here and up here on the shaft that comes in, per some instructions on the interwebs. And then we're going to see about getting that pitman off. And on this style of frame, that's no easy task. So we're going to see how it goes. It ought to be it'll go great, I'm sure. Okay, so now what I'm after is this pitman arm right here. That goes from the bottom of that steering gear out to the tie rod. So there's this nut here, and that's a pressed fit on a spline shaft, which is always real fun to get off. The other end is a tapered shaft that's press fit. That is also typically a bugger to get off of there. So we'll give this a whirl and see what happens. Yeah, so there's that adjuster and that jam nut right there. So yeah, I can get to them a lot easier down there. That adjuster has got an Allen head in it, and the jam nut on the outside, which locks it into place, that's a 5/8 inch nut. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to mark this so that I know where it's at before I get started, and then I'm going to hold this, hold the adjuster and loosen the jam nut, and then as near as I can tell from what I've seen on the interwebs and the YouTubes, you tighten that in just until you feel it kind of start to snug up. That's tightening up the mesh of that gear. You're moving that gear inside of there in relationship to the worm gear that's running this way. So you're tightening up that gear mesh a little bit and reducing that bit of play. The whole reason I'm doing this is because on center, when you're going down the road, there's a little bit of play in the steering wheel, which means there's some looseness between these gear meshes. So the vehicle kind of chases the grooves in the road, and you got to fight it back and forth a little bit. So tightening up that gear mesh should tighten up that steering and get rid of that play. So that's a brake clean. Just gonna mark the adjusting bolt itself, the nut, and then the case. so that I know where everything was when I started. And if I have to, for some reason, find out that this screws everything up, then I can go back and put it all back where it was. That is right. All right. 5/8 in here. So I'm gonna have to come this way to loosen that. So let's see. So what I'm wanting to do is hold that adjuster in place while I loosen. Ow! Well, that worked. Loosen the jam nut up. Go ahead and back that jam nut off a bit. All right. Hi. So, before I start adjusting, I'm going to try and make sure that I've got the steering wheel kind of where it feels like it's right in between the little bit of the gap, so that as I tighten that down, when I feel that little bit of pressure against it, I should be right down in the very valley of where those two gears come together. All right. I'll just kind of go nice and slow, because there's the potential, if you get this gear mesh wrong, for doing some damage to the gear itself. So we're gonna go nice and easy until it feels, I'm gonna go until I feel just a little bit of extra pressure against it. Okay, now, there. So I got dang near a full turn out of it, and I can kind of feel right there, it kind of touches. So what I'm going to do then is back that off by about 1/4 of a turn. There we go. All right, so now I'm gonna real gently spin the wheel all the way one way, all the way the other way. Make sure that it doesn't feel like it's dragging real hard, or that definitely that it's not binding up. If I feel a bind, then I've got to immediately come down and undo this. But that should have tightened up my gear mesh. Like I said, I went almost a full turn on it, so I probably moved that gear a solid 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch would be my guess. Probably closer to a 1/16, but that adds up to quite a bit when you're moving those gears together. So let's see. Now I'm gonna double check. Oh, see, that moved that out. But that's still about the same spot, it feels like, to where we're bottomed out there. So yeah, I'm still gonna just back that up 1/4 of a turn, and now I'll tighten that nut back down. Didn't really say just how tight you want this to be, but it wasn't crazy tight when I loosened it, just enough to smash my hand real good. So I'm not gonna get too crazy with it. Now I'll once again give her a spin and make sure she feels all right. Well, that feels pretty good. So now I'll get that pitman arm off the bottom of there, which is honestly going to be the hard part of this whole ordeal. And that ought to tighten everything up pretty good. And hopefully when I drive it down the road tomorrow, she doesn't chase me all over the road. Big enough. An inch and a quarter won't fit it. An inch and 3/8 is way too big, so I'm guessing it's like an inch and 5/16 or something like that. This little wrench is wide as she'll go. Just barely grab the edge of the nut enough to spin it since I got it loose. Once I got it off here, figure out what size it is. I'll guarantee I don't have a wrench that'll fit it, so going back on probably be pretty much exactly the same process I got it off with. We just tighten it up as best we can. Hope for the best at that point. There we go. So the absolute worst part of this design is the end of that shaft is pointing right at the bottom of this cross member. So you can't get any pullers or anything like that in there. Go over here, figure out what I need to. Let me get that out of the way. Right there, works. The end of this pitman off the tie rod. It's got a cotter pin on it. I'm going to use their pliers for that. Let's see what size that thing is. Ah, yeah. I'm going to spin this nut back on there far enough to cover all the threads. I'll see about that fancy new set of pullers that I got. So a lot of the time when I've had to do suspension work, I've just done it with 2 and 3 rod pullers. The dreaded pickle forks, I hate those things. They're a last resort. They end up doing a lot of damage, even though they're quick and easy. A lot of people grab them first, but I don't like them. Maybe it's just me. So anyhow, I ran down to the good old Harbor Freight this evening. Got me a set of suspension pullers. Front end service kit. And Made by that company. I don't know anything about them. It says right there that they are superior automotive tools, so I'm sure they'll be great. That didn't do it. Oh, maybe it did. Oh, looky there. All right. That is loose. Oh. That should be it. There. So, I grabbed my safety glasses and some gloves. I don't like getting chunks of metal wedged in my eye anymore. It wasn't too bad when I was younger. And the gloves, because, well, if I happen to smash a finger, it's going to keep the pieces in there. So I'm about to take this big old persuader and beat on the outside portion of that pitman arm, since it's tapered onto that shaft. And hopefully just a few good solid hits and it'll pop right off of there. Newfound situation. It's been about 20 some odd years since I took one of these apart, and apparently you got to loosen up the steering gear off the frame to create enough clearance to get the pitman arm off the bottom of the steering shaft. So now that's what I got to do. I'll remember that for next time, I guess. No time at all. Yeah, that's good. Power key, grease dirt, castle nut. Yeah, that looks about right. tight enough that I'm not gonna worry about driving it. Get a hold of the right stuff. Tighten it up properly. What I mean, tires are going hard. I'm not thinking about real big. That's what we got at the moment. Open the door up. Temperature in here. Well down to the creek. I'm gonna warm up my foot with these tires. I got thing about these tires. Really like always until I always very hot. Driving the cable up. Well beyond wore out. You never can see no water on these kids very often. We have new tires, hopefully. New tires, tightening up that steering gear. Putting that new pitman on. Everything on the front end should be nice and tight now. All the tie rattles look good. Drag lines look good. All those look alright. So hopefully that gets cleared out with steering. New tires should be right there getting it all out. Terrible tires. Really upright. Vibration will add to the combination of this really tough tires. Something being out of balance. Get those on, find out from the road in the morning, we can take care of it. That's all we got left to do tonight. Get it about 9:30 at night. It's been a long day. Get these on and we'll call it good. Anyhow, that'll be another night. That's it for tonight. We're just clean. I don't know. I'm just starting. I don't know how to figure it out. So I'm just going to do this. If you guys like it, have any suggestions, feel something in the comments, let me know. I look forward to hearing from all of you. And, yeah, until next time.